See myself as a human first and foremost, but being a woman, being a mother, knowing what it's like to give birth, to cradle a child, to feed a child myself with my own body, and then to see my sisters, my fellow sisters in Palestine, where their breasts are dry, where there is no more milk, where they have been reformed into skeletal images of themselves. Solidarity seems a bit useless across a Zoom with you, but that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I have a beautiful painting of Leila Khalad, and I would say that women can be part of the resistance. We're very strong.
Hello and welcome, I'm Osama Nazal. Today we are joined by Roisin McCleary from Social Rights Ireland, a leading voice in international solidarity and human rights advocacy. We will discuss with her the unfolding genocide in Gaza, the starvation and forced displacement of the Palestinian people, and the rise of settlers' violence in the West Bank and the global response to these crimes, with special attention to the rights of the Palestinian women and children. Welcome to the program, Roisin.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
You're welcome. From your perspective as an activist, a human rights advocate, and you following up and monitoring the Palestinian situation, how do you describe the Israeli occupation practices against the Palestinians in all of Palestine, particularly in Gaza, which is subjected to genocide?
So we're looking on from Ireland in absolute disbelief and horror. That's how it's perceived. We're watching a live streamed genocide, and we never thought that this would even be possible in this day and age in 2025. And to think that there was a Holocaust hidden from us, and righteous anger and disgust and horror to find that out after the event. But now we have no excuse, no government, no country, no so-called leaders, no human being who has any access to a screen, and most people do these days, can deny being a witness to what we are actually seeing. So the mood sometimes goes from shock and horror to utter despair, but the prevailing mood here is one of anger and one of rising action to hold world leaders to account, actually the whole world to account for these horrendous, heinous, barbaric atrocities.
Yeah, Roisin, you're talking about shock, horror and despair of watching and seeing the crimes committed against the Palestinian children and women in Gaza. And this what pushes you to protest genocide and to organize activities and demonstrations in order to pressure your government and governments around the world to pressure Israel to end its crimes. So if you tell us about your movement and the activities that you organize in Ireland.
Well, we have seen, not just in the last 2 years, how governments fail working class people across the world. That's part of the neoliberal system to which we are all subject. So we understand fully what power looks like, and we believe that actually real power lies in ordinary people like ourselves, who are not in any way attached to the bureaucratic systems around the world that are holding actually Palestine to ransom. So our action is very much based in grassroots. That means that people on the ground who are also oppressed, who are also victims of oppression here in this country, can identify with the people of Palestine and the main oppressor. So we look to draw parallels between what's going on in our own countries, the material conditions of the working class and the impoverished, and we see a direct correlation between what Francesca Albanese would call the economy of genocide and how that economy also holds us to ransom here, which is why we have such a urgent need to boycott and to divest from that economy. So we very much also have a revolutionary spirit and tradition in Ireland that we look to as well. We understand colonialism having over 800 years of British colonialism, and we still have an occupation in the 6 counties in the north of Ireland, where I'm actually from, where British forces continue to occupy 6 counties out of 32 counties in Ireland. Not only that, we have neo-colonialism here. So we have big tech, big pharma, we have huge corporations, again, holding our economy ransom. We have no sovereignty, we have no semblance of independence here. That's a fallacy, and that's why we care so much. That's why we have this deep-rooted connection to the struggle in Palestine for liberation. We yearn for self-determination and liberation too.
Yes, it's really great that you are talking about the commonality between Palestine and Ireland, and we are aware of this history and this historic relationship between Ireland and Palestine. So how do you see the interaction of the people of Ireland when it comes to the Palestinian people suffering and the catastrophe the Palestinians are going through these days?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's in our fibre, it's in our being. And anybody who has any knowledge or understanding or connection even to the Republican struggle, which was a struggle against British forces, British occupation, and also a genocide in Ireland as well, clearly sees that. The problem is that with neoliberalism, which has kind of been pervasive for the last 30, 40 years in Ireland, is that some people have become detached from the realisation that actually we are under control and that the so-called democratic system is failing the ordinary people. But what Palestine has done is that it has actually woken up an awful lot of people to realise how come the ICJ hasn't acted properly. How come there's such a delay? How come world leaders and the Dublin government, that some people would describe as our government or the Irish government, how come they're not doing anything? So it is dawning on people that actually we are all victims of this horrific system, and the people who are paying the highest price, who are being sacrificed, are the Palestinian people, who continue to resist in so many ways, so many admirable ways, from doctors refusing to leave their patients in hospitals to the actual resistance. And we respect and salute and admire all forms of resistance here, because we know what it is like to sacrifice and to resist here.
Yeah, and do you feel that the ideas that you have and the state of activism that you and many people in Europe and around the world have been leading since the start of the genocide war began to show some results, some outcomes, as we saw yesterday and today? Floods of people, for example, through the cities of Italy and the different capitals, calling on their governments, pressing their governments to boycott Israel, to pressure Israel to stop genocide, and to recognize the right of the Palestinian people to statehood.
Absolutely. Sometimes you might feel like you're alone, this is futile, we're not going anywhere, but actually, and it's absolutely terrible that it has taken this long, that this is such a protracted form of activism to get anything done, because the genocide is a protracted barbaric act inflicted upon the Palestinian population. Mm-hmm. But it is making a difference. I mean, if we were not on the streets, if we were not visible, if we were not talking about Palestine every day, if we were not flying the flag for Palestine, if we were not disrupting, if workers were not organising, if ordinary people were silent as governments and mainstream media are and want us to be, there is no way that dockers in Italy, not just in Italy, I have to say, there was great protest in Dublin here a couple of days ago, where protesters lay down at the docks and disrupted business as usual down there. So there is growing momentum, and there is a growing anger, which is feeding direct action and disruption. But now the pressure needs to be placed on unions, and union leadership need to listen to workers, because workers have the power, and workers united across the world will be able to collaborate to actually stop this system of genocide, this Zionist system of suppression, oppression on all of us, but most inflicted on the people of Palestine.
Yes, and Russia in the past decades, Israel succeeded in portraying itself to the European world as a civilized, democratic, progressive country in the Middle East. Now, how the people see Israel today while it is weaponizing bread and food, starving children and women and the elderly in Gaza to death?
Well, we always knew in Ireland that image was a fallacy, that was an image that was manufactured in the United States and in the West. However, for those who were a bit more slow to wake up and realise what has been happening for decades, not just for the last 2 years, are starting to, yeah, absolutely, the mask has dropped, as we would say. Israel is full frontal, on view for the whole world to see, and there is nobody who has a leg to stand on to be able to try and defend what Israel is doing. Nobody, not the liberals, not the moderates, not people from all different spectrums on left, on right. Nobody is able to defend Israel and Zionism anymore, because we're seeing these horrendous pictures that, I mean, you'd have to have a heart of stone not to be moved by images of children who are starving and then bombs dropping on top of them to boot. So we also see how, you know, mainstream media attempts and continues to try to manufacture consent for Israel being the victim. So all of this is really bizarre, but nobody is drinking the Zionist aid anymore.
Yes, and Roshan, may you tell us a bit about the activities by the civil society and the grassroots organizations in Ireland on raising awareness of the people about the rights of the Palestinian people and the ordeal the people are going through here?
Well, in civil society, you have, like even in the workplaces, healthcare workers for Palestine, Irish healthcare workers for Palestine are organising. And I mean, there was one a couple of weeks ago where a friend of ours organised a fast to raise money. But, you know, what's important is obviously the money and trying to bring aid to Palestine. But nearly more important than that is to bring the conversation into workplaces. And we have Teachers for Palestine who are doing the same. So on those sort of professional levels, Palestine is featuring, and workers are stepping up and making it an issue in the workplace when the unions fail to do so. And at a grassroots level, there's groups like ours, Social Rights Ireland, who are anti-Zionist, and then you also have Palestinian Solidarity movement as well, and that reach is really broad, and we welcome everybody into the movement, because everybody can play their part, as Bobby Sands would say. But where we are now at the minute is there's two major projects happening. And one is at UCD, which is University College Dublin. So the students themselves are mobilising, and they're protesting because they realise the academic chains to Zionism, as well as the economic and the military chains. Like, we have military chains to Zionism through our airports in Belfast and in Shannon, where warplanes land and refuel here, and they go unchecked, and that's being also denied by the Dublin government. But with the academic chains of Zionism, where UCD, for example, continues to have a partnership with Technion. Technion is an Israeli technology institution in Haifa, in Israel, and they are in receipt of funding from the EU, and so is UCD. So students and workers and lecturers and activists are placing a demand on UCD, just like they did to Trinity College Dublin last summer, to say that you must break these chains of Zionism. You must not be in direct partnership with Israeli universities that are actually researching and developing weapons that are slaughtering people. We want to have nothing to do with that. Our universities belong to us, we the people, not to Zionists, and no collaboration with the US, the EU, or the Zionist entity, which is, not just located in Israel. This is not just a geographical, geopolitical issue. This is much bigger than that, and the roots of Zionism go much deeper than one location.
Yeah, we see the shift in the public opinion in Europe and how Palestine is present in the hearts and minds of millions and millions today in Europe. If we talk about the shift at the official level and the wave of states' recognition of the state of Palestine, just like what happened over the past 3-4 days, how do you see these states' decision to recognize the state of Palestine?
Too little, too late. It is important from a bureaucratic point of view to recognise the state of Palestine, but again, the ordinary people have always recognised the state of Palestine and the Palestinian people and their right to self-determination. These words mean nothing. They're not worth the paper they're written on or printed on if they do not come with action. And we need direct action from people who have been voted in, who say that they have been democratically elected. Well, if you have a democratic mandate to act, then you should be acting. And if you are not, then those words are meaningless. So it might look like good for PR for countries, but number one, it's too little, too late. And number two, it means nothing if it's not followed up with action.
Yes, and my final question to you, Roshan, as a woman activist, what do you say to the Palestinian women and Palestinian girls who are being forcibly displaced from their homes in Gaza and who are being starved by the Israeli occupation government?
I see myself as a human first and foremost, but being a woman, being a mother, knowing what it's like to give birth, to cradle a child, to feed a child myself with my own body, and then to see my sisters, my fellow sisters in Palestine, where their breasts are dry, where there is no more milk, where they have been reformed into skeletal images of themselves. Solidarity seems a bit useless across a Zoom with you, but that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I have a beautiful painting of Leila Khalad, and I would say that women can be part of the resistance. We're very strong, we're very determined, we step up, we are not second-class citizens. We are not subordinate to our male counterparts. Our male counterparts are our equals. They're our friends in resistance. They're our comrades. And we too can act. We have a voice. We have a body. And we have a mind. We have brains. We know what we can do. And we will not be stopped.
Roshan, it has been a great pleasure having you on the program. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you from Ireland. Free Palestine.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. And from you, Saman Azal. Have a nice time.